Hi, I'm Santosh Sivan. You're watching me in BehindWoods.com. Whenever I used to do all my traveling and all that, everywhere you go, especially Goa and Fort Cochin and places like this, even when you go to a hotel, there's Vasco da Gama suite and things like that. And of course, he's very revered here as a discoverer of India. But so of course you realize when you go deeper into the kind of history and their logbook and all that, you realize that he discovered India all right for a Western world, but he actually is the first conqueror, the first colonial ruler in the world, because they all came to trade in pepper. But what happened is that they actually decided to, instead of trade, they decided to maybe conquer the place so that they could get monopoly over the pepper trade. And pepper during those days was like oil. It was very, very, the Western world wanted it because it was found to be a really king of spices and things like that. So naturally, when they came here, they did not want the trade to happen to Arab countries and all that. So the second time he came with the intention of actually monopolizing the trade. So he actually attacked a ship that came from Mecca, killed so many people. And then the Brahmins who came to negotiate, they cut off his ears. So he showed a violent trait. And of course, finally, because the people, those times were people like us actually. And unfortunately, they were not united. And there were always people who sided with them, and they played the game very well, divide and rule kind of policy. So, and also the first time the gun came in, the cannons came in. So finally they conquered, and then for 400 years we were under the gun actually. So I thought it was very interesting to have a film where you show this pepper, a small peppercorn changing the entire history of India. So I think for every Indian it must be interesting. Now I decided to do different languages because if you do different languages, it is something that every Indian should see in a way because it changed all their lives. So, and also in those times, there was no Malayalam as such. It was a mixed language, more of Tamil and all that. So we found it very, only geographically places were demarcated, So we thought, so we decided to make it in all languages, which is how this film came about. Then we decided to make the film. So I told Prithviraj, who's also into a lot of action and Kadari and all, like the martial arts of yesteryears. So we decided that rather than taking the subject to someone to produce, we will all produce it ourselves. So we produced the film ourselves, and of course we had a lot of help from other actors like Prabhudeva, Arya, then Genelia. Genelia actually must have trained a lot in horse riding as well as martial arts to actually put across a performance of a warrior princess, which is she's not really portrayed as one in any of these films she has done before. So whenever you give a challenging role, they put a lot more into it. Same to do with Vidya Balan, who also did a lot of dance training and all that to do this thing. And then we had Nitya Menon, and we had even Tabu doing a guest appearance. And we also had people from all over India, like we have Amol Gupte, who actually did the director of Stanley Dabba, and he also wrote Tare Zameen Par, so he's also acting in the film. And so it's a lot of such talent is there actually. So we decided, okay, we'll make it like that kind of. I think it's interesting. I think, once you feel that the subject is interesting, and when you narrate the subject to everyone, they will wonder how the hell are you going to pull it off. It's not a very easy film to pull off like that when you say Vasco da Gama came with 16 ships and, attacked and things like that. It's not very easy to say, but because maybe you have been a cinematographer and of course they don't question too much your abilities to bring it on like that. So they also want to know how this is going to happen. So normally whenever you have a subject which is very different, even if there's not the budget that they look at, they are interested in how it is pulled off. So you will find most actors are very supportive because they are really supportive, when it comes to something different they have to do. Actually, we have a lot of fact because I think about most of the film, Shankar Ramakrishnan, the writer, the script writer, has actually researched very extensively, and so very about 90% recorded history is what Vasco da Gama's life. But the other one, of course, is like a universal story, a story that could happen anywhere when such a attack is planned, how people die, they want revenge. So how the stories are done, which of course is fictionally also molded. But the fact is that unfortunately, whenever the people who write history are the people who won actually. The other is not, no one hears it. And after 15th century, Vasco da Gama came and then he went back, is when a lot of discoveries were done there in the Western world. So for all you know, we might have lost a lot of things that has gone from here too. So that is because there's no one to tell our side of the story. So I thought it is interesting to see our side of the story being told as we would be telling, because the film also has a very peculiar thing, because Urumi is a weapon that is made to keep away outsiders. So it's a flexible sword, but it also has a very strange character that it rolls back. It is rolled back as one. So it is almost like a recycle kind of a process. So our film also, strangely enough, it talks about present and past. So in the past, some people came and exploited the land. So present also it's happening. The same kind of people are there. Maybe they are not the foreigners, but the same thing is happening. So which is also is meant to recall it in a way. So the film is designed like that. And maybe the people who lived then are the same people who live today. But the same characters have not changed. So still you're not very united. The progress is only for one and the others are left behind. So that also is, portrayed. Maybe not very definitely, because the film is designed like an entertainment film where you have songs and you have a lot of action and you have a very universal storyline and humor and all that. But the fact is that beneath all this there is also this that comes across. We wanted to release it simultaneously, but the fact was that because of the elections and all these things that had happened and so much difference was there, which is why we could not release it on time, because suddenly IPL came and so we decided, okay, we will go ahead with the Malayalam release, and then it came here. Because anyway it is two different versions, so it's okay to do like that. Very good, yeah. It did 111 days. It was very good, both critically as well as commercially. It has been very good, and also now I think we also, in Japan and all that, we have managed to, get it across, because I thought it would be interesting for the film to be viewed by as many people of different nationalities and different languages to be seeing, because it actually talks about a very interesting time in history, I think the biggest challenge was definitely the fact that, when you say that you are doing something in period, it's very easy to build up huge sets. The more money you have, the more bigger the sets and all that stuff. But sometimes I feel 15th century is a time when it was pollution free. It had an ambience which we dream of, which will happen to a place like this. So to get that feeling without telling, okay, it was pollution free, but when you see to draw you into that period, it is good to get into that kind of an ambience where people really feel it was pollution free, and what fresh air that you're breathing, that kind of a thing. So to get these kind of subtleties are more difficult, because sometimes there are these waterfalls that happen for 6 days or 7 days when it rains, then they disappear. So to shoot in those kind of things, where it's not like a waterfall, but it is those thin curtain sheet of water. So these kind of things, of course, the subtle things which are difficult to get, because they are very much dictated by the time and everything. So it has to be done like that. So those are the difficult things. Then the other difficult thing is to coordinate people from such different languages into a scene and integrating it, because there's a lot of people who don't understand Malayalam or Tamil or Hindi. So all of them are acting together with timing and all that stuff, which has also been very challenging. But I've done like this because I've made films like Before the Rains, which is also similar with, to get foreign crew all together and do a thing, So I think all those are, actually filmmaking has only challenges. Everything is, even a small little thing is a challenging thing. I don't know if it's a fascination or anything, because when I did Anandabhadram, it is basically a grandmother's folk tale. I sometimes think, no, there are different kind of filmmakers. I might be a filmmaker who likes the visual language of it very well. There might be a writer who wants to direct a film. Maybe it can be verbose. So everything can have their own sensibility. A musician might see everything in a musical form. So I think the more different perceptions, the better. More interesting filmmaking will it be. It will be. In my case, I would say visual language is very interesting, which is why maybe I have done films in all kinds of different languages also. I've actually managed to do so many different kind of a thing. But I think as a visual language person, I actually enjoy creating your own world, which might have existed, not existed, but to create that world. So you get a full freedom to do that. Instead of, not that I don't dislike the other one, but I think it is a very challenging thing to create your own world and your own ambience to tell a story. So the whole idea of creating a new world is very appealing to me. So I like doing that, which is why maybe it might not be about period or folklore, but I think just to let your imagination run free, it might be interesting. I don't think it is like that at all, because I think those are basically period films. Period talks about one. Your film is you're trying to draw a parallel to it also. So I don't know. I don't think that any of these films can be compared, because it's like saying, okay, in this love story, what is special? But everything is special, and this has a lot of facts in it, which is interesting. And I think world over, or rather, when our ancestors first saw a gun, a cannon, it is not like, okay, it happened. You're showing the reaction. A sound happened and someone died. My God, it was like that kind of a thing. So I think you are exploring a world where our ancestors might have seen these first white men come, and they were very hospitable, nice, come, sit, and all that. And finally, they ruled, which I think is interesting to see as in a film. Acting debut is very. Actually, it was an accidental thing, because I've been in this field for quite some time. So if I genuinely wanted to act in a movie, a lot of people have asked me, why don't you, something. But I have not really been very kicked about acting as such. In this particular case, the director, Lenny Randan, actually was talking about Raja Verma. And my grandmom actually used to teach in the palace, music and all that stuff. So I remember as a kid going there and seeing all these things, and then she would come back and she would get these calendars which are Raja Verma paintings, and then she would put it up and then illustrate the mythological relevance of the painting, which I thought was very interesting. So these are one of the first visual educations, which is why maybe in a film like Anandabhadram you have those kind of images. So, and also in Perindachan, my early first film also, I have used influences of that. Because, wherever you go, even if you go to a place like London, or if you go to a Malayali's house, you will definitely find one Raja Verma painting or something there, which is like a nostalgic kind of a thing. So when he said that it is not to shoot but to act, I almost fell down actually. But because of all this, I thought maybe, because I think somewhere they associate me also in a very strange way because of the work I have done maybe. So I thought maybe it's interesting. It's sometimes opportunities come and it's up to you whether you like to do it or not. So, and since he is a painter, and maybe since they wanted someone new for the role, and since I also paint, so I can understand the sensibilities, and your profession is very similar to that of viewing, things. So I thought maybe I could give it a try. So I warned them, of course, that this is a try. But I think it was an interesting experience to be on the other side of camera. It was interesting, and it was very easy also, because you had someone like Madhu Ambat, who is a cinematographer, who I've known for a very long time. And so it was all friends working, and it was okay. And then everyone said, "Oh my God, you have 4 heroines in the movie," and then I said, "Okay." Every time you see who's that, you ask, and then they'll say, "Oh, that is Shakuntala. Oh, who's that? That is Draupadi." Like that, there used to be a lot of these people, because he was a painter. So a lot of, I also got a lot of very nice feedbacks from people like Buddhadas Gupta, who was in the jury. He said, "Santosh, you should act in my movie," and all he was telling, because he had seen the film. I didn't know that he had seen the film. But I guess that sometimes it might be easy to do a role like that, but not like any role, because I think you need genuine actors to actually portray different characters and things like that. So I guess here, because I was a painter and all that, maybe, which is why they said maybe it's nice like that. No, I don't think it's like that. I have always been, see, first when I thought I'll make films, I basically want to make children's movies, So I made children's film like Halo and, Malli, Halo in Hindi, and Malli in Tamil. And then I made Terrorist, which of course went international, and you had you had a lot of patronage from people like John Malkovich and things like that. And, Michael Ondaatje, they all, so it was a different thing altogether. Then of course I did Ashoka with Shah Rukh and all that stuff, and so I've been doing a lot of different kind of films, including one in Hollywood called Before the Rains and things like that. I always think that making films is like reading literature. You might read a newspaper sometimes you want to indulge in a book, and sometimes it's a non-fiction, and so sometimes it's a comic book. So I think filmmaking should have that freedom, I feel. So I don't necessarily do films to as a means of survival. Not financial. It's not a financial thing for me at all. I just it's not a way of living or anything. So whenever I make a film, I would like to do something that I feel like at that time. So I would like to keep it that way actually. And I've been very fortunate enough to have a career in cinematography where I can actually, whenever I feel like I can go and shoot a film, whether that also it's very strange because you can do a big film, or I've shot films for MF Hussain, or there also I try to do my various things, and sometimes commercials and things like that. So I think it's interesting to keep yourself always enjoying your job. So I like the variety in it, So that doesn't mean that I might not make a 100% commercial kind of movie, as they say, But I think it's okay. It's up to you how you want to do it at that particular point in time. No, I think it is. Sometimes I think when you do films in special effects and those kind of a thing, it's a very interesting thing, because if you see Urumi, it has a lot of that, but you can't catch. So I think trying to do a film where there is a lot of special effects and everything, but you're not able to see it, or no one can able to differentiate, is a big challenge. What is the point in doing a film where everything looks like a special effects? Unless it is. So I think it is very challenging to do that, because I think what today's digital platform and the kind of kind of knowledge through technology has given us is that you can make a lot of our mythological stories and endless stories that we have as a treasure trove in our kind of literature. We can make them into movies without it being tacky or not trying to be like special effects oriented, like the ones you see on TV. You can actually make it look like it has happened, because when you say Vasco da Gama came with 16 ships. Now, if I'm going to build 16 ships, it's going to be you need to also get some of that aid. So it is very cleverly put, and no one has ever thought that. They all took it for granted. They didn't even discuss special effects, because they couldn't believe that they just went with the flow of the film, which is what I think it is all about. Yeah. No, I think everything. I love doing because I think technology is very fascinating. So I love doing special effects, and I would like to look at it another way. Not look at it like, okay, special effects you're showing. I would like to execute it in a way that it's believable. And technical people also feel, oh my God, that's done very nicely. So which I think is to be done, because graphic and special effects are all things which needs pre-planning. You can't go to a set and say, okay, I want this and I want that. It has to have a lot of study and understanding, so that when you actually go about executing it, you have done all that in detail. Then you will come up with an end product which people might really feel is something fascinating. I think, cinematography and direction, I've not actually tried to differentiate the two in terms of my thing, because I've always done like that in all my films. All my films I've also shot it. I think one of the most important thing as a cinematographer you can bring on to a subject is, like I was talking about the way the pollution-free kind of a thing, or in most of my films, landscape is a character. And then I think you're also able to give it a lot of scale without actually paying for it in terms of that. So I think there is a little coordination, but that does not mean that I will not work with another cinematographer. I think it's interesting, and I'm always supported by a very good crew anyway. Everything is taxing. Everything is taxing. But I think when you know that, okay, you can capture this like this, then it becomes less of, it becomes easier to weigh the possibilities and things like that. So I think everyone comes with their own set of advantages and disadvantages. So I can see this as an advantage at times, a big advantage at times, and sometimes you feel it's a disadvantage because you're always at it. So it is a give and take. So I would say 70% I think I enjoyed, 30% I think, my God, that someone else should have handled it. So you have that give and take. I think we have a very interesting set of cinematographers and all, and I think it's throwing up a lot of young talent very much. Of course, there's also this digital boom that's happening, wherein you have a lot of people who are shooting films digitally. I think as long as your sensibilities remain pure, then you're okay, because everyone can have a voice by shooting something. But I think as long as your sensibilities are interesting and there's something new you have to offer and not just imitate, then there is something new to it. I think it's like horses for different courses. You can have the film, so the style of the film is dictated by the script. So I think sometimes you can have that kind of highly mobile cameras, and sometimes you can have this. I don't think there's any set rules for anything. It's up to you how you are going to. It's like music, how you're going to play. It's the same piano, whatever. But it's up to you what kind of music you want to come out of it. So it is basically that. So camera is just a tool. It is how and what you think that is going to be played on it actually. Well, no, it has been a pleasure working with all these people actually. Yeah. I think by some of the people I like Subrata, Subrata Mitra is someone from India who I really like, and B.K. Murthy is also someone who I really appreciate, because those days none of these things that we are having today was there. But all these people, someone like Subrata, actually his work has the timeless quality that even now when you see it, it's not dated. So they didn't try to do fashionable cinematography, because when you do fashionable cinematography, it goes out of fashion. So it is the timeless things that stay on. So when I went to study in Film Institute and I saw Charulata, but even when I see it today, it has still that timeless quality to it, which is what one tries to do in their work. You should have a timeless quality. So if you embrace nature and nature's beautiful ways, then I think that timeless quality will come. And cinematography is a very taxing thing, because you're always a student. You think that you've shot in every different kind of thing, but every day, just like there's a new sunrise every day, something is new every day. So it is a very interesting thing to study light and things. So you always remain a student. So I think cinematographers who remain a student are the ones, I think, who you feel that the promises come out on screen. I don't know about that. I think, like I said before, sometimes I don't know about acting too much, but I think directing a movie is a very fulfilling thing actually, because it's a very interesting journey. It is not really about, did the film do well, because when you make a film like Navarasa, which is a very issue-based film, or a children's film, or a very serious film like Terrorist, you're not thinking of its mass appeal. It might have a niche appeal, but it is a statement that it is very interesting to make, So in those respects, I think it is a very fulfilling kind of a thing. And sometimes I think, directing for me is basically sometimes, when you, first you want to buy a house and a car, and then another house, and, then another house, or maybe something like that, assets, material stuff. But at one point in time, you would like to invest your money in things that are not materialistic, but that will belong to you even when you're not there, like writing a book. making a movie about something, you know. So it remains for a much longer time, and no one can take it away from you, you know, because it's always your thinking. So I think it is interesting to invest in your thoughts. So that time you thought something like that. For example, Navarasa is a film that I really treasure a lot, and it's done very simply, because I used to make these small films on AIDS and all that, and then I came across the story, and those people, the people said, "Oh, you people only make fun of me in movies because we are called third gender and all that stuff," you know. So I really wanted to have a look at them in a very different way, and they helped me, and I made the film. So it is not about, okay, I will make this film next and all that. Maybe something that triggers it off and then you make it. So I believe that sometimes it's important that once you have your comfort zone, because see, one thing about money and things is that there is never an enough point to it. You know, you can say enough to a lot of things, food enough, this enough, all that. But money, no one says enough to. It's always more, you know. And how much more when you look at the kind of scams that are happening, you realize. But the fact is, there's no end to it. And you're not taking it anyway, you know. So I think it's interesting to put your hard-earned money into ideas and things which becomes a film, or people. I admire people who write, paint, make music and all that, you know. I think those are very interesting creative areas where you really, your work is something very interesting if you are a little truthful. And I'm not saying you can be truthful all the time and only do original kind of thing. Maybe one complements the other. You make a very commercial film, and then maybe later on you get into making something else with that money, which is what I used to do, because after shooting a big film, I would take that money and make a children's movie like that, so that I don't have to ask some producer, okay, please invest in my film or something like that. You can do it on your own. So I think one complements the other. So maybe you are not really the typical director, because you also have the advantage of knowing a lot of actors and things like that. But then when you have people like that, then you have to make a film that they are also